Well, let me make sure that everybody knows everybody here, because we do have some members of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee on the line with us. And I hope we'll be joined by a couple more, but Mary Kate Ephraim is on the line. You see her there. Eric Arnold, who's muted at the moment, but that may be because that's the way he likes to be, is on the line. And of course, you know that your colleagues, Mike Leonard and Bob Flaherty, were with us all along here in getting this plan to where it is. And Anita Prentice is on the line, and she's done an enormous amount of work helping me get this thing looking the way it does. So I'm happy that she's there. And Sean Conway has joined us. So that's us. Our thought is that since we've got Bonnie, and Bonnie's a pro, and Bonnie knows the law and has worked with other comprehensive plans before in other towns and seen their adoption take place, I thought we might just start with a couple-minute review of what happens next. Now, I know that all of you will want to review this with Steve Gaba and various other people, but since we've got Bonnie and she's on our collective team, I thought it might be useful just to go through what happens when a draft of a comprehensive plan gets submitted to the town board. Bonnie, would you take off? Is that all right, Richard and everybody? Is that a good way to go?
That's terrific. We could definitely use a refresher. It's been almost 20 years.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you. Again, my name is Bonnie Franson. I'm a partner with Nelson Pope and Voorhees. We do comprehensive planning work for municipalities throughout the Hudson Valley. We've been fortunate to work with the Philipstown committee that has been charged with preparing the comprehensive plan, which was facilitated by a grant, which has not been fully expended and which frankly could be used to some extent for a couple of the tasks that have to be done before the town board can actually adopt the comprehensive plan. So where we are right now in the process is the committee did update the plan. They did have a public survey. They had a public participation process. At this point in the process, what normally happens is when there is a separate committee preparing a comprehensive plan, that committee has to hold a public hearing of its own before it hands it over to the town board. So really, in as much as you've been provided the content, it was just, to some extent as a, here's what's been produced to date, and to let you know what the subject of an upcoming public meeting, public hearing, what the subject of it would be. After the public meeting hearing is held, the committee then takes the comments and they can either revise the plan at that point and forward it to the town board as their recommendation for adoption, or they can actually prepare a memo and have the town board consider those public comments. So depending on, I think, the extent of the public comments, it can occur either way. So once it is referred to the town board, then the town board itself has to have its own public hearing on the comprehensive plan document. And of course, because the plan is adopted by the town board and it's your document, it is certainly within your purview to make whatever changes you believe are necessary to the document before it's adopted. So you will have to have a public hearing. New York State Town Law, Section 272A says that you may refer it to your planning board. It's not a requirement. But oftentimes the town board will refer it to the planning board because they're often dealing on a day-to-day basis with land use regulations, projects, and sometimes the board wants input, especially if the comprehensive plan in some way has land use recommendations that have implications for what the planning board ultimately reviews. You also have to send it to Dutchess County as part of their Dutchess County plan. Oh, sorry. I just literally came off of a meeting with Poughkeepsie. I was literally just getting off with Poughkeepsie. So sorry, with Putnam County planning department so that they can review it in accordance with general municipal law. And then you would take into consideration their comments. And kind of the final part of the process is that you have to adhere to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. So there has to be some secret consideration and review of the document. And it could be an expanded environmental assessment form. It doesn't necessarily mean an environmental impact statement whatsoever, but in some way you need to comply with seeker before you can adopt. So those are kind of in a nutshell, the steps that are left in the process. And, you know, I'll send it back to Nat to get more into the actual substance of the document that's been prepared. And if you have any questions, you know, before we send it over to Nat, you know, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them.
Just one clarification, Bonnie, before the town board has a chance to ask you questions. My reading of the law had said something about a 90-day requirement, and I wondered what that is and how that kicks in, or does anybody care about it?
Where would the 90 days start?
I wasn't thinking the board does.
Generally, with any law, there's a period of waiting for public comment. You know, as Bonnie said, you know, it'll go to the county. There's a certain, I think they have 60 days to respond. Generally, they'll respond sooner. I'm not sure, is this a 90-day requirement? I guess. So,
yeah, 90 days is built into section 272A of New York State Town Law. And so once the committee hands it over to you for your consideration, the town board must hold a public hearing within 90 days of receiving the proposed plan. The general municipal law review timeframe is generally 30 days from when it's referred to them. And we can certainly put a timeline if that helps for the town board. So you can kind of see the steps and timeframes in the process.
So you're saying county planning has 30 days?
From the referral, yes.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thanks, Bonnie. Anybody? Well, we can come back. Bonnie, can you stick with us for a while?
Sure.
Or,
Yes.
Okay, good. Judy, you had a question, I think.
I was just going to say, Bonnie mentioned the planning board would be involved, but what about the conservation board and the recreation commission? Are all of those entities, since the plan does have a section on each of those areas as well as the economy?
I think that the plan can be referred to any of those organizations. It's really up to the town board. And frankly, if you don't, if you want to start the process sooner than later, and it's okay with the town board, you could have the committee refer it over to those groups to the extent you want input from them. So that could be considered, at the same time that the committee is going to, have its public hearing on the document.
Well, these groups could also go to either of the public hearing, by the committee,
yes,
or by the town board.
Right. I think it's more if you want to do the official, transmittal to them as an agency, or you want their participation in general, and then invite them, to either of the hearings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Bonnie, stick with us if you can.
Sure.
We don't want to spend all our money on you tonight, but we're happy to have you with us. You're a great resource. This is your meeting, members of the town board. I do want to say that we've been joined by Richard Butensky, who's another member of our comprehensive plan update committee. Richard wasn't with us in the very beginning, but joined on and has been a very useful and loyal member of our committee. Richard, thank you for your service to us. And I see that we have been joined by Nancy. Nancy, is that you out there? I see some indication of Nancy's iPhone. Does that indicate that Nancy's somewhere in the zone?
Nancy's here listening. Thank you guys for all your hard work. I just want to listen.
We affectionately refer to Nancy in this case as the mother of the comprehensive plan, and she, I think, more than anybody, was willing to listen to me bang on about how we needed to do this. So, thank you. Just a couple of thoughts about the plan, if you will, before you just have a go at us. And I do apologize. Some of this is not much. This is a 2-minute rundown, and it's the same as I gave her pretty close to when I was at the town board. But if you will recall, that night it was freezing in there, and my fingers were so cold that I could not turn the pages of the comprehensive plan. So I apologize for that part, but a couple things to say. One is, and I think this gets back to the volunteer nature of the project to date. It's not pretty yet. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that it will have when it's done. It doesn't have the maps and the pictures and the appendices and the demographics that we hope it will have. And this is, I think, where Bonnie's group can be particularly helpful. And of course, we can, this is the electronic age. We can add as many appendices as we need, and there has so many good things out there that we can just roll up into the comprehensive plan. The various offerings that the climate smart Philipstown people did, there's wonderful reports on greenhouse gas emissions, and the most recent, gosh, what a piece of work that was, that natural resource inventory. But all these things can be attached and rolled up and considered part of the plan. So we can make it pretty. We apologize that it's not so just yet, but it's content. I wanted also to point out that unlike the last time, we've adopted a framework that the national, I guess they would call themselves the American Planning Association would subscribe to. You'll see mention in there of 6 principles that speak for themselves, but this is American Planning Association methodology. I think it may help us in the long run if we're looking to do grants and things, because I think it has sort of a national standard kind of to it. What's new, I think, more than anything, this notion of just looking at people, at the health and well-being of the residents in all of our policies is something that we really didn't think about so much back in whenever it was 2007. We thought about it, but it wasn't a formal part of the plan. And certainly we didn't, the idea of climate change mitigation was a one-liner back in 2007, and now it's the overarching theme of the plan. I mean, it's just, as you've come to see, this is all about carbon neutrality and whatever, but I mean, it's meant to support everything that we believe in and have talked about as a leadership municipality in the whole realm of climate change control. It is meant to be more so than perhaps the last time. It's really meant to be a living document that can be changed and looked at all the time. The plan does call for the creation of a standing committee so that we wouldn't need to every 10 years go out and try to form up a new group. There would be a group that would sort of be going along with this right along. And that, which leads me to, I think, the most important part or point I'd like to make, and that is that and I hope you all will think about this a lot and hope you've read about it. And this is new, this notion of incorporating a review of the comprehensive plan and its goals and actions every year at town planning and budget time. I mean, that's not to say that we would look at all 149 recommendations, but hopefully the standing committee would, on an annual basis, if not more frequently, would say, all right, well, these are the 5 or 6 things that we think we should serve up to the town board as something that we should focus on this year. And in fact, that process may come from you all. You may say, well, this year we should look at, so that it doesn't just stay on the shelf, and that it gets, it gets a regular look to see what actions we might want to take up this year. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. We do have some experts on the line. I mean, this is a plan that spends a lot more time this time around trying to delve into housing and trying to add some new concepts, some up-to-date concepts in the world of affordable or workforce housing. We were fortunate to have Jonathan Rose come in and give us a little help on some of the concepts. And we've always had the Hudson Highland, we're fortunate to have the Hudson Highlands Land Trust working with us so that the natural resource protection part of the plan is ever so expanded and ever so detailed. And, if Michelle had her way, there'd be another couple of pages in there about that, but it's pretty complete. Transportation, complete streets, biking and walking, the things that we've been talking about, and the work of the Philipstown Trails Committee can be rolled up into this. I think the only thing I'd say is so far, you may have all seen the Highlands Current article about the comprehensive plan, and of course looking for headlines. Now Liz is a good reporter, but looking for headlines, she of course wanted to throw in the fact that we are coming out strongly in favor of dirt roads and strongly in favor of school consolidation. And while of course the plan does address those things, I don't think you'll come to see anything different than, and maybe even an enlightened approach to that. I mean, but I do want you to know that there is, in that plan, there is discussion of dirt roads and what can be done to be smart about that. And there is an encouragement for continued discussions of school consolidation. And there's also an addressing of this problem that we've had that we just can't seem to get around just yet. And that's the idea of how school tax vary greatly amongst various parts of Philipstown. The people over on one side pay 400 or 500% more than the people on the other. And that's a tricky one. And we don't really say anything more than we should discuss it some more and figure out how we can address it, but it's in there. I'm going to stop and ask you all if you have questions or if things that we can elaborate on. As I said, we've got some experts amongst us and happy to do it.
First I would say thank you to everybody. It's, as I said multiple times now, it really is a great draft. And as Nat said, it'll be even better when it gets the graphics and the maps in it that tie into this. Right. Just a couple of thoughts, the school issue, the school tax issue, the school unified school district issue is just something that seems insurmountable. Many people would like to see that happen. It seems to make more sense every year as we see school populations, dropping in one area and remaining stable or increasing in another area. And the tax issue is a thorny one. It as a basic issue of fairness, it feels like if you're in Philipstown and you're paying school taxes, everybody should pretty much be paying the same school tax. And it's not multiple districts, it's two, essentially. It's the Haldane School District and the Garrison School District. So, and that's been I don't know the history of that, how it was ever established that way, but there is quite a discrepancy between what people in Philipstown at large pay and what people in Garrison pay. So that's just a really, that's up to the state of New York to change the school district. They'd have to be petitioned, but it is something that I think a lot of people think is worthwhile. Maybe not people who are paying 40% less in school taxes, but as an issue of fairness, it really should be addressed. And then I just go through, there's a ton of recommendations, obviously, as Nat said, upwards of 90, to try to encourage businesses to come to the town, appropriate businesses. We're not a homestead community, so there's not a lot of difference between, there's no difference between what a business pays and what a homeowner pays in taxes. So unless you're a homestead community with a business tax rate, you're all paying the same. So you really have to look at balancing what the needs of a business will be, what the impact of that business will be, versus what revenue that may generate to support the community and other ventures. That all the goals are really clearly spelled out, and I think everybody can appreciate that. It's an easy read to get through the document, and it's a pleasant read. If you're interested at all in the community, it really does spell out where the majority, I think, of all people in this town can see us going. The special attention to climate change is something that any thinking person at this point knows has to be sort of preeminent in any document that we are going to support. And obviously we're supporting that through our Climate Smart program, our Climate Smart coordinator, and all the things we're doing toward that. I definitely have a soft spot for the protection of natural resources, and I know everyone here does. And the more you look at it, the more important it becomes, the more you realize that even these tiny vernal pools and these little patches of woodland are so important to supporting diversity, but also as seasonal resting places, mating places, production areas for all sorts of wildlife. It's a complex thing, and it's hard to get across to people how important this interconnectedness is. But I think we've done a decent job in preserving, large swaths of open space in town and making sure that when any development is entertained here, even a single family residence now, the planning board's taking a hard look at it. At the same time, you do need to balance the rights of people to use their property, in an appropriate way. If somebody has a residential piece of property and they want to put a house on it, they're not asking a lot. But again, we have a lot of regulations surrounding that. Any development in this town, any large scale development has been proven over and over. Those are tough rows to hoe. So, I just really appreciate the document. It was great to hear Bonnie lay out the process again and refresh us all on that. So thank you. But all I can say is thank you so much to everybody who participated in this. It's a great document, and it feels very, very close to something that could be adopted after some public comment.
Yeah, unlike the last time, as I recall, I guess we're fortunate, and I don't know, Bonnie, how you'd say this. We're fortunate in that, we're not up against some project that's going on just at the moment that's, really having, we're working, it seems to me we had that, before Glasbury Court got built, the last time we did the comprehensive plan, we were faced with big question about what are we going to do with this soil mining property. And, it does capture attention when you have an issue, and we don't have that. So perhaps we don't get quite the attention that we could, but I think it's probably a good thing that we're not fighting against something that we all don't want at the moment.
Right. I think it's a thoughtful document as opposed to being almost like a reactionary document to some, major issue that's looming over the town, which, is not the case here. And you had the ability to, again, thoughtfully be comprehensive without focusing again on a particular issue.
Yeah, I think again, just adding on to that, the last time we did this, it did seem to catch a lot of people by surprise. There was a lot of misunderstanding, there was a lot of mistrust, and it was a much more difficult task to not only adopt the comprehensive plan, but adopt the accompanying zoning that was recommended by the plan and that worked with the plan. So I think, we have established a measure of trust at this point that we're not going in to try to steamroll over anybody or, take away someone's rights to use their property in a reasonable way. There's always going to be the naysayers, but what's a party without that?
Well, I would just like to say, Nat, I think you were on the first committee, the first comp plan. And thank you so much for your years of service. And thank you to all of you. And Richard really laid out most of it, but I was very new to the town board when the town was rezoned in 2010. And the comprehensive plan at that point was such a resource to me as a new town board member, because you had the opinion and you had thoughts and hours of input from the community at your fingertips. And it was such a great document to have at that point. And I don't know if you guys have looked at, what's been achieved from that plan towards the new plan as well. And, a lot, I've read through this whole thing. There's a few things that I think, we need to look at, but we'll have the public comment section and our comments, but I think we've achieved a lot of it. And
John, we really have. We've done this. One of the exercises we went through was, okay, what were the action plans called for the last time around, and how many have we knocked off?
Right.
And the answer is most of them. Now there were 5 or 6, and then we went through the exercise of saying, are they still issues? Are they things we still need to address? And a few of them kept coming on through. I can't think of which they were in particular, but certainly, what did we not? We never did a road plan. We never, the old plan called for a master road plan. And I don't think we've ever really, I mean, maybe going back, way back we have, but there are a few things that are left to do, but we did I think as a community, we did a really good job of getting on with those things, which were mostly of a land use nature. I mean, if climate change is the overarching, climate change mitigation is the overarching theme, this time it was land use the last time. But we've done that, and but it's worth looking at again, because we may very well have had something in there that we didn't get to.
Well, again, I appreciate all the work that you've all done and look forward to the public hearing, public comment again, and getting it adopted. It's a great job. Thank you.
So
Yeah, I'd like to add on that as well. Thank you for everybody who was involved with this. All our boards can use this as a guide to moving forward. Our planning board, as you know, was very, very, very busy over these last several years. And having this as a guide to help them is very useful for all our boards. So it's very, very important. And again, it was a great job by everybody involved with this.
well, and the good news is Kim Connor in particular has been involved in the work of the comprehensive plan. She saw fit to come along with us, so she's pretty aware of what we've been doing. I did send a copy just so he had it to Neil Zuckerman, and so he's got a little bit of background there. But thanks, Bob. Now I can't fail to, because it looks like Michelle has joined us. Michelle, are you there?
Yeah, she's on. She's on mute. Oh, there she goes.
Michelle, I can't. There's a lot of thanks going around, and I can't fail to not thank you for your willingness to jump into this with us. And I guess just in the nick of time that we got you here, because it won't be too long before. Hopefully, we'll get this thing adopted before you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Turn it into a beach bum. But thank you for all your help. How about you?
Thank you.
Is there anything, Michelle, that you would want to say that is important to or that we should keep in mind as we move towards adoption?
No, I mean, I think, it was a pleasure to work with you and to work with the committee. We live in a very conservation-minded community. I'll be interested to see what the public has to say, what public comment looks like. So I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay. Well, thank you again for all your help. And, I think Richard said it. I mean, you can't say enough about natural resource protection and the things that I don't think of all the time. So thank you so much for helping me with all that, or helping us with all that. Nancy, is there anything you want to say about this? If you're still there.
I'm still here, thanks. The one thing that comes to mind is, looking back to when we began this process with the first comprehensive plan and, 20 years ago or more, and having just moved back to town and then getting involved in local government, I would look to other towns to see what they were doing and what their comprehensive plans look like. And it feels really great to know now that we are that other town that people are looking to. And I just owe the thanks to everybody involved in this and your expertise. And we're just so lucky that we have all of this intelligence and this wealth of talent in our town. So I'm proud that now we are that town that other people look to. And I do get calls from people from other towns inquiring about comprehensive plans and natural resource plans and everything. So we should be proud.
Yeah, that's probably one thing we didn't do so much of the last time around, and we tried to at least set the stage for lots of conversations with our neighbors. In the past, we've done that, and of course, it depends on which direction you're looking. But if you're looking north-south, that's one way. If you're looking east-west, that's another. But in my view, we should be, and I know you all are, but we should, if you will, not sanctify, but we should support those efforts in the plan by saying that, some of these issues are just too big for just us. And, I'm thinking of visitors and fjord trail crowds. And, it may be that the village and the town at some point wish to come together and jointly hire somebody to look after our interests in that process. So this idea of responsible regionalism, of talking to your neighbor, figuring out how we can cooperate and be useful, is something we didn't talk about as much back in '07 as I think we should, and as I think we do and should continue to do now. So that's a point that we didn't make so hard the last time.
Thank you, Nat, and thanks for your leadership on this. And I like especially the addition of the healthy community and recreational opportunities, which I think connect with the sustainability issues and smart growth principles. I think it's all integrated very well, and I really want to compliment you and the group on pulling this together. The committee has worked very hard, I know, to get this together, and it reflects well on all of the participants and all of the organizations that have been involved as well.
Well, Judy, I'm counting on your proofreading. You're a wonderful proofreader. I hope you found some things in the Greenway grant application that I wouldn't have found. So I hope you will read it over, because I'm sure there's some sentences don't make sense. And, we've got Mary Kate is very good at that process too. She has, we found things from the old plan that we were going to blindly put into the new plan, and she read it 2 or 3 times and said, this doesn't make any sense. So I hope, Judy, you will go that way.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't want to prolong this any longer than you all want to stay, but the members of the committee, Mary Kate and Sean and Eric and Richard, they may kill me if I don't give them an opportunity to say something if they wish to, don't. So the floor is open if any of you want to make a comment that we should be on the lookout for, or you're worried about, or whatever. And if you don't have anything, that's okay too. You're just a good resource. Sean, come on, make a quick comment. But you're going to have to unmute yourself to do it. Eric, I'm going to switch over to you. Can you hear?
Wait, I'm on. I have.
John, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Is there anything that you would like to tell the town board or ask the town board's help on?
No, I mean, I think that they've been very generous in their time and their support throughout the process, particularly Bob and Mike, who have attended a lot of our meetings, not all of which were fascinating or riveting. So I'm really, we're very lucky that they stuck with us. But I just think that the one thing that I would hope to see this document materialize is, it's a plan, but it should be considered something of a living document. And I hope that even after it's adopted, there maintains a group or a group of volunteers or a sort of brain trust who can always be kind of on the lookout for things that other communities are doing, or things that may be coming, coming on the horizon in the coming years, and see how they could affect our community. I think one of the issues that we were dealing with this update was that, once everybody realized that it had almost been 10 years, that's when the update started. So now we're 12 or 13 years later. And I think tying these things to new census data when that's available is important, because, Mary Kate and I were looking at the ACS information, which is, somewhat accurate, but truthfully, we were looking at 10-year-old census data. And we're going to be getting new data in 2 years. So I would request that the town, put aside the resources and the thought space to keep this conversation going into the future, and have let the community know that there's always an open email box for thoughts and concerns and best practices from other communities.
Yeah, that's a good point too, the thought space, because the town board, as attentive as we can be to things, there are just so many issues that not plague us but will require our attention throughout the year. And so it was great to have Nat be that, I'm not going to say squeaky wheel, but that person who kept things moving, just made us pay attention. And that's why, ultimately this document will succeed, because he had a dedicated point person coming to town board meetings, giving us updates, making us aware that progress was being made, and then ultimately, presenting this to the town board and really at that point, catching a major amount of attention. So it's
yeah, and I think in the same way that the climate smart coordinator, is somebody that everyone knows and everyone recognizes, and if you see him at the farmer's market and you just read a really great article, he's the guy to give it to. If there could be a person, a volunteer, or maybe even somebody designated from among the members of the planning board to just be that face of planning and forward-thinking planning, it would be a great resource for the community.
And also to make sure that the boards, the zoning board, the conservation board, the planning board, are following the document, because that's where,
Sure.
you want this document, as you say, to be a living document, and you want it to be a point of reference so that it's adhered to as if it were law, because it may as well be. And just one parting thing is, the music may have changed, but the song remains the same. It's keeps, and I really appreciate this, it keeps the tone of the first comprehensive plan and builds upon that. So it really feels like not only an update, but its own document, but it just thematically it has been successful in keeping that tone.
And Richard, one thing that Sean was good on, was particularly pointed out to us, you'll see in the plan that there is a call for, every couple of years we could have one of them charrettes. You remember them charrettes?
Yeah.
Pull pull the group together. Don't wait 10 years to do it. So I think that was a great idea. Mary Kate, I know you're gonna get mad at me if there isn't something you want to say. Mary Kate has been a wonderful resource to us. We, mild-mannered Mary Kate when she joined us, now a very forceful member of our group, and we can't get away with anything that Mary Kate doesn't want.
Thank you, Nad, for that introduction. And what I did want to tell the board was about the survey that we conducted, where we collected like 600 or 700 responses from members of the community, including on, the things that they love most about Philipstown. And what we saw over and over again was the sense of community, the spectacular natural beauty, and charm of the villages. And when we talk about engaging the community in, their ability to participate in the update to the comprehensive plan, this is a very special place. There's it's really quite unique. And if we can bring the people to see that what we're trying to do here is to identify what we cherish about it and be vigilant in preserving it and not seeing it slip away, whether that's through, negligent development or, loss of our natural resources. If they can see it as the stewardship that it really is and protecting what we do love, as opposed to letting it degrade over time through lack of care, people might, take great ownership and pride in the comprehensive plan.
Eric and Richard, anything that you two would like to add to our work or our work going forward here? What are things, Richard, what are the things that we need, Richard Butensky, what are the things we need to worry about and watch out for?
I just want to say I'm grateful to be able to work with everyone that I got to work with on the committee, and you, Nat. And no, I don't have anything to add to extend anybody's time here. Everyone said what needed to be said. No, I think it's a good plan, and I'm optimistic that it will end up being close to what we have here, hopefully.
know,
The one thing that was missing in there is preservation of beards.
right. Oh, we can, yeah, that's,
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to get a big kickback on that after everyone can, after the pandemic and everyone starts going to the barber regularly again.
Eric, I can't do this without you. So anything that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, and I'll be a fast talker, so as to not hog the rest of everybody's Wednesday evening. Just really been honored to be a part of this and to continue it moving forward. It's given me a newfound respect and appreciation for everything the board has to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, annually basis, and the complexity of it all. It's none of these issues are ever are straightforward, black and white, yes or no. It's just a special thanks to Nat, but also to Sean for teaching me more about housing than I think I ever cared to know. If you haven't read that section of the comprehensive plan, it's really extraordinary, as are the survey results. The amount of work that Sean did there, and just how thorough it is I'm just blown away by it. It's really impressive. The only other three brief things I wanted to touch on was, one, I just wanted to make a particular note that we, in the survey, and I think it'll be reflected in the plan later on, but there was a lot of talk about traffic studies. And one of the things that Nat and I discussed there was making sure that those kinds of initiatives take place after the pandemic because of traffic being slower now. So we want to make sure that we have good data with everything that we do. The other area that we talked a lot about was roads. And I think in the past, when I first moved here, so much of the issue was pave, don't pave. And I want to emphasize that we try to be really careful with the language there in our survey and ultimately in the plan, to reflect that, it's not that simple, that, it is about engineering, it is about environmental responsibility, and it's about, respecting your neighbor's wishes too. So I think that's something we really wanted to emphasize, that it's just not a cut and dried issue. And then the last one was on schools, because that's been a passion project of mine pretty much since I moved here. And having lived on, I can see Anita laughing and groaning as well, and reaching for the liquor cabinet. Having lived on two sides of district lines within this town, I'm very sensitive to the issue. I'm very sensitive to people's wishes on different sides of those lines. And so one of the things we really wanted to emphasize there as well is that it's not as simple like roads. It's not about consolidate or don't consolidate. It's really about equity for the people who live in the three districts that we have, and making sure that any solution that we do approach or advocate in the future, as Richard rightly points out, the status quo is probably going to remain the status quo till the next plan, but in 10 years. But either way, if we do come to a point where we do need to talk about consolidation or redistricting, whatever the case may be, is that everybody in Philipstown's voices are heard and respected. And it's not just about Garrison and Haldane, but that Continental Village gets their say as well. And they get to decide, where they want to go. So yeah, I think equity is really the name of the game as far as schools are concerned. And with that, I'll shut up. And I thank you guys so much for giving us this time.
I think we should hand it right back to you all, unless there's a phone number I don't recognize. Is there someone there on who's that?
This is Sean again. I just wanted to add one more thing. Okay. I'm speaking through my phone and waiting.
Oh, I see. So you're in a picture and then you're also down here with the phone. Okay, you're double booked. All right.
Just so I can talk twice as much. No, I did just want to add one thing that I hope everyone kind of keeps in mind over the next year or two. One thing that Mary Kate was talking about the survey, and Eric alluded to this as well. One of the findings that I was really struck by in the survey was just really how much people across Philipstown, regardless of where they live, don't see the sort of geographic distinctions between the various neighborhoods, and particularly between Philipstown and Cold Spring. And I think a lot of people see Main Street Cold Spring as really Main Street Philipstown, and we can debate whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. But Cold Spring, the village of Cold Spring, is going to be going through this process themselves, probably in the next year or two, updating their own comprehensive plan. So I think between now and then, it would be good for the town to see, what are these requests or these demands or these challenges that really should be a sort of shared experience between the town and the village of Cold Spring, and how can we work together between the two municipalities to really provide that service and those resources that people are looking for. Because I think as time goes on, those distinctions become less and less clear to the people who are living just outside the village boundaries. So that's just one thing. I don't want our community to suffer from comprehensive plan update fatigue, but knowing that that's something that's going to be broached in the next year or two, it would behoove everyone to kind of think about where those crossovers are and how we can make it easier for both communities to work together.
And then you have Nelsonville.
Now I promise I'm done.
And there's Nelsonville. Of course, there's Nelsonville.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know Nelsonville's schedule. I don't know where they are on their plan or updates or anything like that. I just know that that Cold Springs will probably be, like I said, within the next year or two, and that their committee may start any day now. I think their 10-year update will be 2012 or 2011 possibly. So,
Richard, we should turn it back to you and John and all, because we're 50 minutes in. That's probably enough, unless of course there's some other things that you all want to talk about.
No, I think it's like everyone. I think everyone here feels we're very close with this plan. Get it out to a public hearing. Let's get the graphics and the maps together. Let's go through the steps that we need to do the referrals. The comprehensive plan special board can have their public hearing once you feel you're ready, and then we'll move through the steps and get it adopted.
Wonderful. I should add, Anita, is there anything you wish to say there, sweetheart? Anita has helped me a great deal with the formatting and the way it looks and all that. So she's a real help to that way. Okay, well, we'll take it from here then, and report. But we'll get our meeting done, and then we'll turn it over to you.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you again for everyone's
Okay.
effort.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Good night, everybody.
giving us the time.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
Nice to
Good
see
night.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.